Hello, thank you for visiting. I'm Flora, and I'm the 96-year-old finally speaking out. This is my second time with you on YouTube, and I'm hoping to share my thoughts on a weekly basis with you of both terrible and wonderful things I've witnessed in my lifetime of almost a century, both in our nation and in our world, particularly with reference to the crisis our nation is in right now. I was 13 years old when the Second World War broke out, at least when America declared war on Japan and the Nazis and fascists in Europe after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. But very early in the stage of this valid and necessary war, a great injustice was happening in the nation. Most of us knew about it, but very few of us cared. What was happening that American citizens, over 100,000 of them, were being rounded up and put in barracks out in the wilderness with only 2 or 3 days to sell their property or store it. They were herded into trains and trucks out to these installations, and I have visited some of those places. Cold, windy, dusty, desolate. These were American citizens who had done no wrong. The only thing held against them was the fact they were of Japanese ancestry. This was totally unconstitutional. It was done under an auspices of a law, which is being invoked again, the Enemy Alien Act. These Japanese those of the Japanese ancestry who had lived in this country, often for generations, respected by their neighbors. They were neither enemies, they were loyal citizens, many of whom their sons were serving in the Army, the Navy, or the Air Force in the war. And they were not aliens, they were citizens. It made no difference. They were rounded up, children pulled out of school, men and women out of their homes and business, old people, sick people, rounded up and sent to these barracks for years. To be sure, they were not extermination camps or work till you die camps, but many did die of illnesses, shock, being uprooted from their homes for years in these bleak, cold, windy places. It was only in much later years we realized how unconstitutional and wicked this was. And only recently have cities begun to officially apologize to those who were so traumatized. It's happening again. We all know about this innocent man, Mr. Garcia, legally allowed to be a refugee in this country, rounded up, just like those Japanese Americans, thrust into a plane, sent off to El Salvador and to a brutal prison. And our government has admitted this was a mistake, an administrative error. But they are not lifting a finger to try to get this innocent man back. They are in defiance of a federal court and the Supreme Court that has ordered to bring this man back. They aren't even trying. On the contrary, Some of you may have heard on the television news 2 nights ago, our president, who was entertaining the El Salvador president, both of those men saying there's no way to get this innocent man back. In fact, our president was urging the El Salvador president, please build more prisons so I can send homegrown terrorists there. Apparently his own definition of what is a homegrown terrorist. It means citizens without due process of law, shoveled off to foreign brutal prisons. It could be you or me, depending on how he defines a terrorist. Any one of us who is in dissent against his policies could be someday sent off to such places, illegally and unconstitutionally. This is not the only time something like this has happened. When I was in my 20s, in the 1950s, a certain Senator McCarthy mesmerized, hypnotized Congress and a large part of the nation into the conspiracy theory that communists were infiltrating every aspect of our federal government, our university, our churches, our commerce, that everything had to be explored. Everything had to be brought into view. Innocent people, people I knew well, lost their jobs and their reputations. My own father, who hated communism as much as he did Nazism and fascism of all kinds, was denied a passport by the State Department, who said, your communist tendencies are well known. He hated communists, but apparently something he said against the senator who held the country in thrall was unliked. So he was denied his citizen of excellent standing a passport. It was a reign of terror that went on for a long time, and it didn't begin to end until another senator, and I don't remember his name, some of you out there might know who it was, stood up in the Senate chambers and roared at McCarthy, "Have you no shame, sir? Where is your shame, sir?" Then somehow Senator McCarthy's hypnotic power, conspiracy power, began to crack. But it took years, and many lives were ruined in the process. I'm feeling hope because I'm seeing and hearing that roar now. I'm hearing it from peaceful demonstrations in our streets. I'm hearing it from the press. I'm hearing it from churches. I'm hearing it from universities. I'm hearing it from small neighborhood gatherings, learning how to resist and dissent. We all love our nation, and we each need to roar, each in our own way, for our nation's soul, for it is in dire danger, the worst I have seen in my lifetime. This is not a matter of mere political differences. Healthy political debate and differences, we need them as a balance of power. What we're talking about here is the violation of civil rights and liberties on which this nation was founded. And I feel the anger because I have this almost century long seen the sacrifices people have made for the agonizing, slow growth of awareness of the need for our civil liberties and rights for every part of this nation that we love. I just the other day reread that beautiful anthem, America the Beautiful. You know, the one, oh, beautiful for spacious skies. I read every verse of it, and some people felt that should have been our national anthem because every verse of it so clearly spells out the values, the freedoms this nation was founded on. Yeah, I'm roaring in my own way right now through this YouTube. You will find the way that is best for you. And I do thank you for sharing. See you next week.